Okay, so today we're diving into something I think a lot of us are probably dealing with, and that is, well, discomfort from just sitting too much.
Yeah.
And especially if you have a desk job, you're probably familiar with the whole back pain, the shoulder pain
Yeah.
thing.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And we're going to look at one person's story today, and we'll see what we can learn from it.
Sounds good.
Her name is Marie. She's 34 years old
Wow.
and a marketing consultant. And so lots of sitting all day long.
Mm.
And she ended up finding some serious relief from a certain type of Pilates.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's called the Stott method.
Okay.
And she wrote, kind of the testimonial about her experience with it. And so we're going to dig into that today and see what we can find out about,
Right.
her journey and how this helped her and all that.
Let's do it.
So let's start at the beginning. What was Marie even dealing with before she found Pilates?
So yeah, before she started this Stott Pilates, her life was full of pain.
Oh, no.
Especially in her lower back and her shoulders. And she said it wasn't like just a once in a while kind of thing. It was like every day.
Okay, so chronic.
Chronic, yeah. And because of that pain, it really messed with her posture too.
Oh, yeah. I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, she was always kind of like slouched over, head forward.
Yeah.
And she said her neck was always tense.
Which makes total sense if you're,
Yeah.
kind of like hunched over your computer all day.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something we see all the time
Yeah.
with people who sit for work.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And it wasn't just the back and shoulder pain for her either.
Oh, really? What else?
She was getting headaches too, like all the time.
Ugh, I hate that.
It's the worst. And, of course that makes it hard to focus at work
Yeah, yeah.
and just, enjoy your day-to-day life.
Right.
So she was pretty miserable.
So, I mean, what did she try to do about it, like, before Pilates?
Well, she tried all the usual stuff. Like,
Yeah.
she'd do stretches at her desk. She'd get massages. Tried some yoga sometimes.
Okay, typical, remedies.
Yeah, and she said those things did help a little bit,
Okay.
but just for a short time.
Yeah, temporary.
Temporary, exactly. The pain would always come back.
And that's got to be so frustrating.
I know. And she was getting really frustrated.
Yeah.
And starting to worry about, what this was doing to her body in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. You don't want that to become like a permanent thing.
No, definitely not. So she was definitely looking for a real solution.
Okay, so then how did she end up trying Pilates?
So it sounds like it was a friend who suggested it.
Okay.
And specifically the Stott method.
Okay, so what is that exactly?
Yeah, so Stott Pilates, it's kind of like a modern take on the original Pilates.
Okay.
But one of the big things they focus on is getting your spine back to its natural curves
Interesting.
and balancing out the muscles around your joints.
Okay.
And her friend told her all about how it helps you build a strong core.
Right, which is so important.
Yeah, because that's what supports your whole body.
Exactly.
So if your core is weak, you're more likely to have pain
Yeah, totally.
and have bad posture and all that.
Right.
So anyway, Marie was, curious about it. And at that point, she was pretty desperate to find something that worked.
Sure. Yeah.
So she decided to give it a try.
Okay, so where'd she go for this?
So she went to this studio in Paris called Studio Pilates
Okay.
and signed up for like an introductory class.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So what was that first session like for her?
So she had a really good experience, it sounds like.
Okay.
And she really liked the instructor, Caroline Berger de Femini.
Okay.
She said Caroline was really good at explaining all the movements, like really clearly and calmly. And she also went into detail about, why they were doing each exercise.
Okay, so it wasn't just like follow along and do this.
Right, exactly. It was more about understanding the purpose of each movement.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and Caroline also gave her some personalized corrections for her posture.
Okay, that's good.
Which is really important.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing that happened for Marie in that first session was that she had this realization about her body.
What do you mean?
Well, she realized that she was totally disconnected from her own body.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I think that's something that happens to a lot of us.
Yeah, probably.
Especially if we're, stressed and sitting all the time. But through the exercises and Caroline's guidance,
Yeah.
she suddenly became aware of how shallow her breathing was.
Interesting.
And that's a really common thing when you have bad posture.
Okay.
Because you're kind of like compressing your chest and your lungs.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And she also realized how weak her core muscles were.
Oh.
Like her deep core muscles, the ones that are supposed to support your spine.
Right.
And that was kind of like a light bulb moment for her. Yeah, because it helped her understand why she was having all this pain.
Yeah, it was getting to the root of the problem.
Exactly.
Okay, so she starts doing these Pilates sessions. How long does it take before she starts to see a difference? So she said that within a few weeks, she started noticing some pretty big changes.
Wow, that's fast.
Yeah, she was going 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
And first of all, her back pain started to ease up.
Okay, good.
And she also just felt more stable in her body.
That's great.
Yeah, and that's because her core was getting stronger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Those muscles were starting to do their job of supporting her.
Right.
And then the other big change was her posture.
Oh, yeah. How is that?
So she said she didn't even have to think about sitting up straight anymore.
Wow, really?
It just started happening naturally.
So it wasn't like she was forcing herself to have good posture.
No, exactly. The muscles were actually getting stronger.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so her body just kind of naturally went into a better alignment.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that Stott Pilates is really good for.
Yeah.
It's all about retraining those postural muscles.
Okay, cool. So back pain's getting better, posture's getting better, anything else?
Yeah, well, actually, this is interesting. What?
Her headaches went away too.
Oh, wow, she wasn't even doing it for that.
No, she was doing it for the back pain and the posture,
Yeah.
but the headaches just disappeared.
Wow. So that's like an added bonus.
Yeah, for sure. And she thinks it was because the tension in her neck and shoulders was gone.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And she was also breathing more deeply.
Oh, yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
She was breathing really shallow before.
Right. So it just shows you how connected everything is in your body.
Yeah, totally.
Like tension in one area can cause pain in a totally different area.
Wow, that's a good reminder.
Yeah. And I think this experience really changed how Marie thought about Pilates.
How so?
Well, it wasn't just a workout for her anymore. It was more like a ritual,
Oh, interesting.
a time for her to focus on her breath
Yeah.
and connect with her body and just slow down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think that's something we could all use a little more of in our lives.
Totally. Especially with how busy and hectic everything is. Exactly. Like we're always rushing around staring at screens.
Yeah.
So taking that time to just be present in your body can make a huge difference.
Yeah, I can see that.
And Marie said that doing Pilates also helped her become more aware of her body's signals.
Like what kind of signals?
Like, when you're hungry or tired or stressed.
Wow, okay.
And that helped her manage her stress better.
That's cool.
Yeah. And she even said it helped her focus better at work.
Wow, really? So it had like professional benefits too.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how long did she keep doing Pilates for?
So she kept it up for a whole year.
Okay.
And after that year, she said it was like a complete transformation.
Really?
Yeah, her posture was totally different.
Wow.
All the aches and pains were gone.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and she felt so much stronger.
That's so good to hear.
Yeah, she felt strong physically and mentally
Mm-hmm.
and just more confident in her body overall.
Wow, that's amazing. What a difference.
Yeah, it really is. And the cool thing is that she didn't just stop doing Pilates after that year.
Okay, so she kept it up.
Yeah, she kind of made it a part of her life.
Oh, so.
Well, she said she started incorporating little 5 to 10 minute Pilates sessions into her daily routine.
Oh, like a little mini workout.
Yeah, exactly. And she'd focus on like stretching and breathing.
Okay.
And she said it was like a reset button for her.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, like if she was feeling stressed or overwhelmed, she'd just take a few minutes to do some Pilates and it would help her feel better.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
I love that idea of a reset button.
Me too.
So what advice does she have for people who, are dealing with similar issues like chronic pain or bad posture or stress?
Well, she says everybody should try Stott Pilates.
Okay.
And specifically on the reformer.
Okay, so what's the reformer?
It's this piece of equipment that uses springs and pulleys
Okay.
to add resistance and support to the exercises.
Interesting.
Yeah. And she says it's really gentle, but super effective.
Yeah.
And that anyone can do it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, no matter what your fitness level is.
Cool.
But she also says it's important to start slowly
Okay.
and be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
And most importantly, she says to find a qualified instructor.
Right. You don't want to just do it on your own?
No, definitely not, especially if you have pain or injuries.
Yeah, you could make it worse.
Exactly. So finding a good instructor is key.
Okay.
And she just, overall, she just really believes that the results are worth it.
So worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like this was a really positive experience for her.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Like life-changing almost.
Yeah, I think so.
She was in pain all the time, and now she's not.
Right.
Her posture's better. She feels stronger.
She's got more energy.
Yeah.
She's managing her stress better.
Wow.
Like it really impacted her whole life.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is. And she specifically wanted to thank Caroline Berger de Femini
Okay, the instructor.
Yeah, the instructor at Studio Pilates.
In Paris.
Yeah, in Paris.
Oh. And she said that Caroline's expertise and the way she teaches
Yeah.
made a big difference for her.
So shout out to Caroline.
Yeah.
So it sounds like from Marie's story that Stott Pilates can really help with chronic pain,
Yeah.
especially if it's coming from sitting too much.
Mm-hmm.
And it can also help with posture and stress and even headaches.
Yeah. It's pretty nice.
And it sounds like it can really improve your overall well-being.
Absolutely.
So it's not just about like physical changes.
No, it's about feeling better in your body and mind.
Yeah.
Which is what we all want, right?
Totally.
And, this makes me think about all the other things we do that might have unexpected benefits.
Like what?
Well, like, Marie found all these benefits from doing Pilates.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just the exercises themselves.
Right. It was the focus on her breath
Yeah.
and the connection with her body
Exactly.
and the slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
So what if other things we do have similar benefits? Like maybe there are things you're already doing that are helping you in ways you don't even realize.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I think it's worth taking a minute to think about that.
Yeah, what are we doing that's helping us feel better?
Exactly. And how can we do more of those things?
Yeah, I like that.
Awesome.
Okay, well, this was super interesting.
Yeah. Thanks for diving into that with me.
Of course. Thanks for being here.
Anytime.
All right, that's it for today. We'll see you next time.
See ya.